Welcome. Oh,
Somebody change your setting on here. 5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, now, welcome back, everyone. This is Maximum Health Radio, Quality Living, with yours truly, Dr. Ken Gray, Holistic Physician. We're so pleased with you all that you join us every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. And for past shows, or just for fun, you can tune into us and our podcast on prx.org. Public Radio Exchange. It's a free service. It's wonderful. You look up Maximum Health and you'll come across tons of wonderful shows. So as always, I have a wonderful, beautiful, knowledgeable, amazing guest for you. This one reminds me of the saying, healer, heal thyself. Well, he did in reverse. He healed himself and then became a healer through the means of talking and sharing and educating. We have with us today Mr. Clint Paddison. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, what a pleasure. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. So you had the experience of healing so many with laughter as a stand-up comedian, also as a speaker at huge corporate engagements around the world. You're from Australia. Good day, mate.
Yeah, good day. Yeah, here in beautiful Florida.
Yes. And now you were then you were challenged, and here we are. So let's give a little bit of history for our listeners and talk about the inspiring lessons you have for them.
Yeah, so stand-up comedy is where it all began for me. Thought I was going to be, really successful and take over the world, and had plans with my friend to do comedy festivals both in Australia and New Zealand, Edinburgh, and over in Canada, and we were going well. And I had appeared on several TV shows, and as I hit 31, I thought everything is on track. You know, my life is playing out exactly the way that I wanted it to. Yeah. And as soon as you have a plan, God laughs, doesn't he?
Yeah. Don't make plans, man. You know, you can have some goals, you can have some vision, you can have some dreams, but it's the wows, not the hows, is what I've learned.
Right. Well. There I was, actually on tour in a different state, different city. Had a girlfriend at the time, was staying at her apartment, woke up and had sore feet. And I didn't know why I had sore feet. You know, it was weird in the padding of the feet. And I thought maybe I'd left my feet out of the covers at night because I'm tall, you know, I'm 6'2". And so I thought it's a strange feeling, and it dissipated through the day. But it kept happening each morning, and then when I went back to my hometown of Sydney, I went and had myself checked out by the local doctor, and he ran blood tests, and he said in the most gravest tone, he said, "You've got rheumatoid arthritis."
Wow.
And I said, "What's that?" You know, I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone with the condition. And so I went to the rheumatologist, and he wanted to put me on, serious drugs, and I declined that for 12 months, thinking there's got to be a solution to this, right? I'd never been sick in any way in my life. I'd never broken a bone.
I mean, it's a fearful diagnosis. I mean, it's one of those ones that it's a long name. Yeah. So even if you don't know what it means, you go, oh, geez.
That's right.
Is it contagious? You know?
Right.
Yeah. So how did you overcome that moment of fear where they're offering you these things and you say there was a part of you that obviously was able to overcome the fear? So where did that come from?
I didn't think it was that serious. Okay. I had no idea. Being naive was both a blessing and a curse. The blessing was that I didn't freak out. The curse was that I didn't take it seriously enough. Because I went 12 months and I thought it'll be okay, and at the end of the 12 months, when I had made little changes to my diet, I exercised more, I did the classic, went and bought the fish oils, the glycosamine sulfate, and the things that people do when they get classic arthritis, right?
Standard sort of inflammatory or anti-inflammatory regimen.
Yeah. I started, seeing folks like acupuncturists and, Chinese herbalists and just, spent a lot of money on naturopaths and so forth. And everyone was giving me wonderful advice, but I still continued to decline. My condition was very aggressive. And I went back to the doctor and I said, let's get on this methotrexate, which was that disease-modifying drug that he'd suggested in our very first meeting. And so I went on that drug, and it helped to reduce symptoms, probably about 50%. But I just continued to worsen with time. And it wasn't until one day he talked about biologic drugs, upping things into the Enbrel, Humira kind of range.
Right.
And wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she went with me to every one of these meetings with a rheumatologist, and I could sense, you know, her deep concern, and of course, my greatest feeling was one of letting her down, because she's from Florida. That's why we're over here, to be near her family.
Yeah.
And she'd moved to Australia to be with me on a whim. You know, we can do this. Let's give it a go. And here she was in a foreign country with no friends and a boyfriend who was borderline cripple, about to go on drugs on top of the methotrexate, which meant that if we were to get married, I couldn't have kids. And it just didn't look good. And in that meeting, there was a distinction, and it was that I hadn't done absolutely everything in my mind to try and get rid of this. I had outsourced it wonderfully, but I thought, what can I do? And
now I just want to just take a moment. Now, borderline cripple, just to give a picture to that, of some of the basic life processes that became difficult for you. Because there's some people out there that know it through experience. There's some people who know it through their loved ones or friends, and there's like me, who obviously I'm a physician, so I treat it and see it all the time. Now, tell us about what that borderline cripple was for you as a young man. What did that look like?
That looked like waking up and taking about 5 to 10 minutes to being able to stand up. My left knee was blown up. In Australia, we call them rock melons. Here you call them cantaloupes.
And you can see this online, because I watched some of your videos before. Once we began contact, and I became a fan of yours, I saw these pictures in the videos, because you allow people into your life during this stage of your life.
So we had this again, a naivety that we'd be able to turn this around fairly quickly. And so we pulled out a video camera and said, let's look at how we're going to do this. Now, we filmed the first sort of 4 or 5 months, but then it became very intermittent over the coming years, because less significant were the changes, because it's kind of like an asymptotic effect, you know. At first it's very fast, but then it just and
it's one thing to go from walking with a walker to not walking with a walker, but after that it's like, okay, he's walking.
Exactly. You can't see that little bit of pain left, so why document it, right? But we did capture a lot in the first 4 months, and most of it hasn't been shared online, and there's interest from an Australian television production company to do a documentary about my story. But you know, there's time in the future for that. But I've shared some of it online, and yes, it was agonising throughout the day. Worst, of course, with the morning stiffness that folks with inflammatory arthritis get. Blown up knee, both elbows. Had to have surgery on my left elbow, complete synovectomy. Wrists, ankles, feet, chest, and jaw. So that with every inhale, I would get pain in my chest, and with every bite of food, I'd get pain in my jaw. So, I mean, I was shocking, terrible. And my wife would help me sometimes in the middle of the night, and I'd put my arm around her, and she'd help me to the bathroom. So, yeah, I mean, it was some serious times. And so I just said, look, in this meeting with the rheumatologist, he was talking about these drugs, and I just said, let's think about this again. And I went away, and I just went back to my research background. I did laser physics at university and had great accolades, and was like the highest grade that maths, physics, computer electronics had ever issued for a thesis. Was published in Electronic Letters, an international electronics journal paper, for work that I did when I was 21. So I'd done well, and then I'd went off and done comedy and forgotten that I was a researcher. So I thought, damn, all right, comedy got to be on hold. Comedy has to just take a back seat as I go back to study, and I just studied at home using Google Scholar and ordered books on Amazon about the digestive system and enzymes, and books on, like, you know, hydrochloric acid in the stomach. How am I going to solve this? Because if I can't write jokes, then what's the point of doing comedy? Well,
I really have to say I loved this part of your story of your life, because what it is a testimony. Sometimes people feel that if they don't succeed at something at one stage of their life, then they failed at it. And I really don't believe that. I feel that life is this ongoing, I call it Earth School, right? and you accumulate all this knowledge, and you just never know when it's going to come back into the to the play.
Yeah.
And there's so much that I've done in the past I now use. I mean, performing arts, I wanted to be on Broadway. Never acted or was on television until I became a physician, and then I had to do news interviews and obviously radio, and so I get to bring that presence so that people can, you know, watch me and not be totally bored and, you know, like turning me off. But you know, I look at you and you're saying that you had this whole life and goal and education that you just pushed to the side.
Yep.
And your family's probably like, oh, you know, he's going to be a comedian.
That's it.
And then here you are utilizing it for the good of all humanity. So,
well,
I
and that's
really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, life plays out in an interesting fashion, doesn't it? You know, I had all that education. I used it for a few years, and then I just set it aside, and there it was to fall back on later. And yes, I have this unique combination, and upon reflection, and I've had this thought reinforced by a lot of my clients. So it's not just something that I've self-indulged with, but I feel like I was destined to get this disease to be able to give hope and direction to other people. So in some ways, whether or not other people agree, but certainly I believe this, and others have volunteered this to me on their own, is that I was almost like a crash test dummy to be able to then observe myself with my science background and all the time that doing stand-up offers, because between gigs you're not doing a whole lot, and I was using that to go to yoga every day, juicing like crazy, which, as you know, take up so much time. When you're being healthy, it takes up
Thank God for the juice bar, the modern day answer to that. Because it's the rinsing and then prep and
cleaning the juice. I mean, that takes 15 minutes. Yeah.
The plastic bag and the ketchup.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the trick.
We do that too for the compost. Yeah. But you know, this takes all this time, and you know, without that corporate career, just doing comedy, and that I was able to make tremendous progress, and to sort of towards, you know, to get to the end of the story, slowly but surely my body responded and reversed the inflammation, and I was able to use a very strict elimination diet.
Okay.
So it was all plants, because I just both the research and my own body was telling me that anything that was even a little bit hard to digest was not working for me. So I went from really strict, simple plant foods, and then was able to get off the methotrexate completely. Doctor's approval. I have something.
Give us the time frame.
2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing's quick.
Yeah,
right?
so and that's important, because people will try something for a month and say, oh, I'm going back on the methotrexate. And it's just amazing that they think that this autoimmune disease that conventional medicine has no answer for. Literally, there's just zero. Because methotrexate is not an answer.
Right, it's a suppressant of symptoms.
That's all.
Yeah.
And while you're suppressing, your system is still in chaos.
Correct.
So it's just masking.
Yeah.
You know? So when you look at that and you say to someone, look, it's going to take time. You need to do this, you need to do that. They're just impatient.
Yeah.
And they suffer for it, and their family suffers for it. But if you give it the time, so 2.5 years, juicing, greens, elimination diet, and then slowly but surely you introduce some other foods.
Other foods, yes. And the process of the reintroduction of foods was hit and miss, and then I was slowly able to expand out into now, you know, I stay with a whole foods, plant-based diet.
Okay.
So, you know, I can go to, you know, cafes and eat out, whereas previously I was stuck at home eating all my foods. But, you know, I can eat anything that's a plant. And surprisingly, that's most foods. You know, we think, you know, when we're eating sort of, I guess, conventional, we think meat and something. But when you know, bring in a lot of the rice and beans and, you know, I eat bread and pasta and stuff, you know, it's a carbohydrate.
Gluten-free or no?
No, it used to be, but again, I feel that gluten sensitivity also can slowly resolve itself too.
Any protein, any animal protein?
No,
chicken, no fish?
No.
You just don't do it?
No.
If you ate fish today, what would happen?
Nothing, because now my digestive system's very robust.
Okay.
But now I'm in this groove, and I like it. You know, I don't want to roll the dice on anything.
Right.
Yeah, I'm really happy.
It's about not so much the disease anymore, it's how you feel and what works for how you feel.
Right. Right. But let me just say that if I was to go and eat cheese pizzas for a couple of weeks straight, I would get symptoms back.
Sure.
Yeah.
We all would.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we take, antacids and then anti-inflammatories and then end up back in the same pit. Right? That's basically what happens. Let's talk about that, because you did, in your TED Talk that I watched, you did go into that idea of how there's an increase of these sort of autoimmune diseases, especially in the rheumatoid arthritis, which I know personally as a physician, I've seen it earlier.
Right.
So it used to be one of those diseases, you're 60, 70, 70, then it was 60, then maybe 40s. Now you see it in teens, which is scary. So that means there's a congenital deficiency, meaning they're born with a deficiency system-wise. So for us in traditional Chinese medicine, there's a liver imbalance. The liver is the organ that really is in charge of tendon and joint health, inflammatory hormones. Then you go ahead and you add other organs like spleen, which deals with digestive. And so if that's not working, there's stress, there's diarrhea, there's, so forth and so on, loose stools. And then you can incorporate all sorts of other things like the lungs and, so forth, and kidneys, energy, fatigue. So long story short, what I was looking at with you is you broke it down from the onset of just basic inflammatory issues, right? Tylenol every day, Advil, and things that everybody does. And then antibiotics, which you said as a child. So your gut was already shot. And then normal life processes, a drink here, pizza there, more Tylenol, more antacids, more antibiotics. And what do you have? A system in chaos, autoimmune disease.
That's it.
So it's not this happenstance, it's not genetic, purely. Sure, there can be predisposition, but it's our choices throughout our life, starting at a young age. It's the advice of some physicians. It's parents' ignorance, lack of knowledge, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's no one's deliberately doing this. Everyone's
it's just normal.
When you turn on the TV and every commercial is fast food. My parents just visited from Australia and they were just shocked at the advertising campaigns that run between TV shows here. And that sometimes you'll get 4 out of 7 commercials, fast food. And how are you meant to sort of, it takes a lot of discerning prowess to avoid getting drawn into that.
It takes good parenting. I mean, you have to have a household really that's enforcing, okay, you're starting to feel sick, no sugar.
You're right.
If you tell an average kid no sugar day, they're crying, they're screaming, they're Mom, Dad, no, I hate you. Right?
Yeah, of course. We've got a couple of kids now and we already see these trends starting and we're conscious of it even in our family.
Yeah, start them early.
Yeah.
And it reminds me, talking about TV, when I was younger, dating myself, there was Saturday mornings you'd have public service announcement commercials. Don't drown your food. It's about salad. Simple things, right?
Yeah.
You'd have the vegetables all happy and dancing, and then someone comes over and puts dressing on it. Like, that stuff we don't have on television. It is primarily, you'll see it a Saturday morning if I sit down with the kids. Boom. All sorts of fast food and unhealthy things, and we have to be more conscious.
It's a exercise in discipline constantly. That's my whole thing. It takes a great deal of discipline to achieve a lot of results with your health. And even if it's something just as common as weight loss, there's discipline in that, and there's discipline in anything that we're trying to do with our body. And for me, if there was one word that summed up this entire process, and still is, it's discipline. Because we get drawn into the smells and the flavors and things of foods that tempt us, and they're, made in laboratories designed to make us addicted to these foods. So, So
I want to add one word. Yes, discipline. Maybe 2 words. I want to add balance. I wrote a book with a partner a while back, co-wrote it, called Health and Balance. Her name is Carol Maglio, cancer survivor, still doing great. 7 years post. Never did chemo, never did radiation.
Wow.
Right? So juicing and so, and I myself also subscribe to those principles. But balance. People just need to learn, okay, yes, if you're going to do pizza, the next day you can't do pizza. You can't do things that are going to tax the system. So how do we achieve balance? How do we learn what balance is, or relearn it? Because it's there. And the other thing is patterns, healthy life patterns. So, because discipline scares people. But once you say you have the choice, but create patterns that are going to keep you in a sort of a balanced situation.
Yeah, keep the momentum going.
Yeah, keep the momentum. If you don't like it, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, but if you can find a happy medium, you're going to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little exercise, a little yoga, a little, you know. When you get bored of something, you're just going to get angry at it, and then you're just going to shy away from the whole process.
Yeah.
So give us some pointers, some key, you know, besides, obviously, discipline is key. I would agree with you. I love balance and I love patterns, but give us some direct things that the listeners here with loved ones suffering from rheumatoid arthritis and autoimmune diseases, maybe newly diagnosed or chronic, just give them some direction so that they can feel some hope today.
Yeah, let's go for it. This is what I enjoy, you know, imparting information that's immediately deployable.
Take it away, Scotty.
Let's kick this off. So first of all, we have to work on 5 areas to reduce pain. So we've got medications is the obvious one. A lot of people stop there. But the other 4 are natural, and that's the supplements, stress reduction, exercise, and the diet. In no particular order. And so we've talked briefly about some mindset, which runs in parallel to that, and some strategy. So, you know, I know we've got limited time, but let me go across some of these categories here. Let's start with the 2 most important non-medical things, which are the diet and the exercise. So we've with diet, we've got to eliminate anything that's high in fat. So the fat causes more of the particles in our in our digestive system to leak into our bloodstream, and that's what our body's reacting to. So low fat, and I normally encourage people to start by eliminating dairy. And so dairy's both high in fat, high in protein, problematic casein, and so that would be a place that I often start. And people, when they jump on my mailing list, the first thing on the mailing list is, hey guys, let's start you off with no dairy.
Okay.
Right. So that's the first thing.
Which for us is damp, phlegmy foods. Makes things stagnate. There you go.
Right, boom, gone. Okay, so we want to increase the consumption of leafy green vegetables. So these leafy greens contain like 97% of our vitamins and minerals, and they're very alkalizing for the body, so they shift the microbiome, and they're food for our healthy gut bacteria. So our gut bacteria want to eat fibre, which we've, you know, prior to the last 40 years or so, we thought fibre was useless, right, other than bulking up our stool. But it feeds our gut bacteria, which is 9 out of 10 of the cells in our body are actually bacteria. So
but living
right.
fiber, because obviously, you know, these things in containers people are doing for fiber, they're missing out on the enzymatic nature and the living nature of things.
Great distinction, yes. And so we want to do that. So first of all, I mean, this is not going to change your life, but this will drop pain levels by just 1 or 2, literally tomorrow. Okay, so that's worth it, right? Yeah. So we'll increase the leafy greens. We want to reduce fat. Normally, dairy is a good place to start. And now let's talk about exercise, because I know we've got a short time left. With exercise, people shy away from it because they're in pain, and when a joint doesn't feel good to move, we don't like to do it. But the biggest mistake I made was with my left elbow. It was sore, and so I avoided usage. But studies have supported the fact that resistance exercise, in an amount that doesn't cause pain the next day, is beneficial for people with rheumatoid. Not just for everyone's joints, but even for folks with rheumatoid arthritis.
Right. So if a door hinge is rusted, maybe doesn't mean you still don't open it.
Exactly, exactly.
Still needs
You've got to, in fact, moving it, I mean, if there wasn't a joint, like the joint's only there to move. It's got no other purpose. Let's move the thing.
All right.
Some supplements, I like probiotics just to give things a kickstart. I've seen clients who've had their stool samples done and actually have no lactobacillus at all in their whole body. I mean, extraordinary.
It's hard to get through processed fast foods.
Right.
Bad things.
So we've got to kick it off, right? And then stress reduction normally comes, I like to get it for free through exercise. So people can get that for free, go exercise, get out there.
Simple, straightforward.
Simple
Love
stuff, yeah. And I just want to, for people in this area who want to learn more from me, actually we've got a talk that we're putting on here at Florida Atlantic University on the 10th of Feb.
Yeah.
So if anyone's keen to learn more, I'm going to be in town and talking about these principles in much more detail.
Tell them how to keep in touch with you and how to attend.
Yeah, so the easy way to do this is to go to our website, which is paddisonprogram.com.
Paddison.
That's That's right, the double D, like two dogs.
So it's not just a Patterson with an Australian accent, it's Paddison, P-A-D-D-I-S-O-N, yes.
That's right. And on the front page of that, there's opportunities to opt into our email training. So it's not just newsletter, it's training. And I'll be sending out information about this event very shortly. So